إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولا مثال له ولا نظير له ونشهد أن سيدنا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله وصفوته من خلقه وأمينه على وحيه ونجيبه من عباده صلى الله عليه وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المباركين الميامين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا. عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي الخاطئة بتقوى الله ولزوم طاعته، كما أحذركم وأحذر نفسي من عصيانه ومخالفة أمره، لقوله عز من قائل: من عمل صالحا فلنفسه ومن أساء فعليها وما ربك بظلام للعبيد. ثم أما بعد، يقول المولى في محكم التنزيل: بعد أن أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: واعلموا أن فيكم رسول الله لو يطيعكم في كثير من الأمر لعنتم ولكن الله حبب إليكم الإيمان وزينه في قلوبكم وكره إليكم الكفر والفسوق والعصيان أولئك هم الراشدون. صدق الله العظيم وبلغ الرسول الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين. اللهم اجعلنا من شهداء الحق القائمين بالقسط آمين يا رب العالمين. Most of the time, if you recite the Quran, there is one of these remarkable things that you will always come across. It depends on how you reflect upon it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in his glorious book, he always mentions two things that go together most of the time. And that is the key for the mankind to understand the book of Allah. If you ignore it, it's a big problem. The example is that whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will mention night next to it. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions heavens, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will mention earth next to it. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the Bahr, which is sea, it will also mention Al-Barr, which is land. This is a key to understand the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What we will be talking about today is whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the Amanu, he will also mention Wa Amilu Salihat. So these two things, they always go together. It's a key to understand the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Iman. Well, if you look at the definition of Iman with the people of Aqidah, they will say is ما وقر في القلب وصدقه العمل. So the meaning of amana means to saddaqa, to believe, or to believe in something. That's why in Surah Yusuf, when they say وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا, the sons of Sayyidina Yaqub, or Mufassirun, they say بِمُؤْمِنٍ here means بِمُصَدِّقٍ. You don't believe us, even if we are saying something, but you will not believe us. وَلَوْ كُنَّا صَادِقِينَ. So now, That is the meaning of Iman. But what is the Iman? The word Iman, what does it mean to believers? Believers who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the meaning of Iman? What is the position of Iman in the deen? The ayah that I recited from Surah Al-Hujurat is pinpointing into something that is really, really, really important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ حَبَّبَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْإِيمَانِ. So, Iman has to be something that has to be made to be beloved to you. And then, your heart will be adorned with it. وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. And then if you look at the hadith of Jibreel, when he asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first thing he asked him about was Islam. And then he asked him about the Iman. And then he asked him about Ihsan. Something will be very wrong to Muslims if we don't reflect upon these meanings. And reflecting upon these meanings also has to be reflected upon our own life. So by doing that, we will take the words into action. Because it's the action what matters. Amanu, they believed, وَعَمِلُوا, and they did good actions, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Just to have a belief in your heart is nothing. I believe in Allah is nothing. Your limbs has to translate it. But because Iman is something that is hidden, that is why it's dealing with the heart. Islam is not hidden. Islam is the actions that we do. This one is part of Islam. Salah is part of Islam. It's not part of Iman. But you cannot do it properly because this one is outward. You cannot do this one properly if the heart is sick. Because Iman is inward actions. And then, if you do that, you have to put adab on it. Good manner to do it. Because if you don't do that, you don't have ihsan. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Qalam, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Truly, you are a vast in manner. This is the manner. The manner of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam appears when he is indulging with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him to do. When he's worshiping Allah. All his action, when he's remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the adab that we're talking about the deen. And we have to bring it back. The same thing make most of people to enter Islam without sword. Well, if it is said to you that people enter in Islam with sword, that's falsehood. It's wrong information. Al-amalu salih. How the action could be amalan salihan. The first thing they say, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. All actions is by intention. وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى. And it's for the man what he intended in his action. So this is what you will have. But first, you have to have Iman. You cannot have Iman if your heart is sick. Your heart is sick. You cannot have Iman. Because the location of Iman is heart. So when it's very sick, it's a big problem. You cannot put anything in it. And this is what Sufi people say. They say, التخلية قبل التحلية. What is the meaning of التخلية قبل التحلية? If you put in a position whereby you have to refrain from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks you to refrain from, or you have to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks you to do, and you have to choose between one of them, which one you should take. These people, they're genius. They know what they're saying. They know what they're talking about. In that moment, you have to refrain from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking you to refrain from. Where did they have this meaning? They grasp from where? From the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, مَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. There is no option in that. وَمَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِهِ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Then you have option. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, don't do something, you have to stop. So the heart is that location. The first thing you need to do, you have to empty it with anything that is not good at all. And then you feel it after that. The example most of the time they give is that if you have a honey and you want to put it inside a pot, what should you do? They say you have to clean the pot first and then you put the honey in it. Because if you don't do that, you put the honey in the pot that is dirty, you will eat it with something is dirty. The same thing applies to the heart. When Prophet ﷺ is talking, telling us, ألا إن في الجسد مضغة إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا وهي القلب. القلب. And the disease of heart is not something that you can see it yourself. There is no way to that. Because we feel of pride, seeing oneself, all of that. Part of it. I have to tell them the truth. It's disease of heart. Because Prophet ﷺ never act like that. You're doing something wrong. We have to change it. Who are you? Prophet ﷺ never do it like that. All of that is pride. Something is said, you cannot take it in. You just have to rebel against it. It's part of pride. So to see what is wrong with yourself is a big problem. Someone might have a psychological problem, but if you say to him, he says no, because he speaks well than you. But if you tell him you're sick, he won't believe it. That is the problem of the heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned it. وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. It's the heart that matters, not the body. If the heart is sound, every action comes from the heart is real. Either it's good or bad. Because it's the only reception we have in our body, it doesn't tell any lies. When someone is really evil, it's coming from his heart, it's true, he's really evil. And when he is very good also, he's very good because it's coming from his heart. The heart don't tell lie. But you just have to maintain it. You have to clean it. You have to take care of it so that what comes from it to be truthful and to be something that is beneficial to you and the people around you. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي فاستغفروه. الحمد لله الذي يقبل التوبة عن عباده ويعفو عن السيئات ويعلم ما تفعلون ويستجيب الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات ويزيدهم من فضل والكافرون لهم عذاب شديد. As we said, once you finish treating your heart and then you act, the actions that you will do will be correct. Because after Iman you have al-amal salih. And the action to be salih, it has to be fall under one of these 5 Islamic pillars. Islamic pillars, we have 5 pillars of Islam. All the actions that we do in our life, if we fall under these 5 pillars, it's not out of it, it's under these 5 pillars. When we say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, the first one, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, all types of dhikr that you do, you fall under that. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, la ilaha. All of them fall under la ilaha illallah. Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. All types of salah on the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they fall under that. Not out of it. This is understanding. We get it from the shuyukh. Wa iqami salah, all the after the fard. You don't compromise your fard. Doing only fard, thinking you're doing great, is dangerous. You just jeopardizing, you playing with your capital. You don't do that. But after that, all the nawafil that you do, the night standing, praying all night, or the sunnah that you do after prayer, or every time you enter the mosque, you pray 2 rakats, every time you do 2 rakats, all of that, they fall under the second pillar of Islam. Wa iqami salah. Wa ita'i zakah, all sort of sadaqah that you do, they fall under wa ita'i zakah. Zakah is when you really don't want to do anything for Allah, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has right in your wealth, then you have to take it out. But if it is someone who is really willing to help the slave with the help of Allah, he will do more than that. You give sadaqah, secretly or openly. وَصَوْمُ Ramadan, all types of fasting that you do apart from Ramadan, we fall under that. This is the meaning of the hadith, وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِشَيْءٍ أَفْضَلَ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُهُ عَلَيْهِ. Because Allah has made things fard on you, so that fard have a sub-actions that you doing. And the Umrah will fall under the Hajj. It's great. So all our actions has to be something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked us to do, and Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam clarified. If you are able to do that, then it's going to be amalun salih, because you cannot do what Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did and to be wrong. The only problem is that the heart has to be clean, because he is the possession of al-Iman. Al-Iman mahalluhu al-qalb. طهر قلبك حتى تنتفع من كل الأعمال التي تقوم بها. Can you just please come forward? There's people standing at the back over there, please. Squeeze in, please. So these 2 wings is what we need in order to fly. Among these actions that we mentioned, there is no one who is perfect in doing all of them. That doesn't exist. Only Prophet ﷺ did that. Everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him to do, he did it 100%. But the rest of us, we have a choice to choose which one you can do best. If praying at the night is what you can do best, do it. خَيْرُ الْأَعْمَالِ أَدْوَمُهَا وَإِنْ قَلْ. The best of actions is the one that is continuous, even if it is small. The example I can give you is just like someone who is a sheikh. when they take knife cutting the onion. Sometimes they don't even need to look at the onion that they're cutting. Why? Because they master it. It's the experience that you have. All the acts of worship, if you do them continuously, you master them. If you make a mistake, you know. You know what went wrong. People will cry if they miss one night. Sayyidina Umar said, if you don't do your wird at the night time, then do it at the daytime. They don't miss it. They don't mess around with it. Take one of the action. عَلَيْكُمْ مِنَ الْأَعْمَالِ مَا تُطِيقُونَ. This is what Prophet ﷺ said. Take among the action what you can afford. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَمَلُّ حَتَّى تَمَلُّ. So just take one of the action that you can do. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not despair as long as you don't despair. So do it until you master it. So that will give you the test of the Islam itself. It will give you the test of Islam because you have something that you're doing is action between you and Allah. No one knows about it. This is what we meant al-Iman wal-amalu salih. And also, just to remind you, every action you do, just make sure that it's measured by the Kitab and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because he is the one who knows best how to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything he said, we have to take it. Everything he asks us not to do, we have to put it aside. I was asked to remind you also that as we said all the time, the mosque is depending on the people who are coming to visit it. So the help that the people are giving to the mosque is always needed. We ask to remind you that as well. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fill our heart with His Iman. Allahumma habib ilayna al-Iman وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين. عباد الله، يقول المولى مخبرا وآمرا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين. اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. وارض اللهم عن الخلفاء الراشدين أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وسائر الصحابة خصوصا المهاجرين والأنصار. اللهم انصرنا وانصر من نصر الدين. اللهم انصرنا وانصر من نصر الدين. اللهم أعد للإسلام عزته وهيبته. اللهم أعد للإسلام عزته وهيبته. اللهم أعد للإسلام عزته وهيبته. اللهم استعملنا على دينك. اللهم استعملنا على دينك. اللهم استعملنا على دينك. عباد الله، يقول المولى إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. وقوموا إلى صلاتكم يرحمكم الله.